pissed a lot of people off, including you. She's in South Africa filming Honey 3. And she...
You know, and you can be in love with someone. You can love someone and...
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment.
Come from compassion.
There's something that happens when someone finally says what everyone else has been too scared to. When the silence breaks, and not in whispers, but in full voice, under oath, in front of a courtroom. That's what just happened with Wendy Williams. This isn't just a celebrity mess, it's the unraveling of an entire ecosystem. Diddy's origins and the industry grip. Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, was born on November 4th, 1969, in Harlem, New York. By the time the 90s hit their stride, so did he, climbing the ranks at Uptown Records before launching Bad Boy Records and becoming one of the most influential figures in hip-hop. But power didn't stop at music. It extended into television, fashion, liquor, and eventually, quiet control over who got to speak and who didn't. That's where Wendy came in. Wendy at the peak and the threats that followed. Back in 2004, Wendy Williams was running afternoon radio like it was her own personal kingdom. Nobody moved numbers like her. She told the court that during that exact moment when she was pulling in massive ratings, she got a warning. A record label executive told her bluntly, "Stop talking about Puff or else." Wendy didn't stop. She kept talking. The next week, she was pulled off her afternoon time slot. She said it was a punishment, and she knew exactly who was behind it. According to Wendy, Diddy wasn't subtle. He made calls. She said he reached out to label heads, radio network execs, and promoters, telling them all to cut her off. One program director even told her to her face, "You poked the wrong bear." Then came the day outside her studio. Wendy testified that the girl group, total former Bad Boy artists, showed up and almost attacked her. This was after she called them washed up and broke on air. But Wendy made it clear, that wasn't random. That was a message. That was Diddy sending someone to remind her he could still get to her. Emails, disinvites, and getting blackballed. What happened next was a pattern Wendy laid out piece by piece. Disinvited from BET events, denied media passes, advertising deals pulled. She said PR firms that used to court her suddenly stopped answering her emails, and she had the receipts. In court, she pulled out a printed email from a PR firm representing Bad Boy. It read, "Per client instruction, we will no longer be booking talent on Wendy Williams' show." She held it up and said, "That client? Sean Combs." She wasn't just blackballed, she was erased, calling out the industry codes. Wendy reminded the courtroom of something she'd said before, back in the early 2000s. She talked about the homosexual era of hip-hop. She wasn't using it as an insult, but as a way to call out the industry's hypocrisy. And for saying that, she got burned at the stake. She testified that the industry had an unspoken list of names you do not speak of. She said her producers started getting threats. Segments were flagged. Her own colleagues told her behind the scenes, "You're gonna mess it all up for us." But she kept going, because for her, silence wasn't an option. The book, the interview, and the vanishing files. She pointed to her 2004 book, The Wendy Williams Experience, calling it full of coded warnings. Names weren't spelled out, but the meanings were clear. She had been trying to warn people back then about Diddy, about Jay-Z, about the after-dark side of fame that no one wanted to talk about. In 2009, she interviewed Mark Curry, a former Bad Boy artist. He had just written Dancing with the Devil and called Diddy the shadow that ruins people. Wendy agreed with him on air. And then, that interview vanished from the station's archive. Just gone. And it wasn't just that one. She tried to bring on Superhead, Gene Deal, Jaguar Right people with stories. Every time, she faced resistance, emails, complaints, FCC warnings. She said, "They tried every angle they could to shut me down." Jay-Z's alleged role and connection. But Wendy didn't stop with Diddy. She turned to the courtroom and said, "You can't talk about Diddy without talking about Jay-Z." According to Wendy, she had long suspected that Jay-Z's rise to power was protected not just by business smarts, but by staying silent on other people's sins, while making sure his own secrets were buried deep. Then she dropped a bomb. She accused Jay-Z of having a predatory relationship with rapper Foxy Brown when she was just 15 years old and he was 27. Wendy continued, saying she had seen explicit lyrics reportedly written by Jay-Z specifically for Foxy. She didn't stop there. Wendy testified about a rumored sex tape involving Jay-Z, Foxy Brown, and actor Jamie Foxx. She said this wasn't just a myth, it was whispered about in media and music circles for years. Then, mysteriously, Foxy's home was robbed. The only thing taken? Allegedly, a tape, nothing else. Wendy made it clear, that wasn't a robbery, that was a cleanup operation. And just like that, the whispers disappeared. The media went quiet. The story vanished, along with any trace of the evidence. But Wendy said she remembered. And she said Foxy was paid off, silenced, and forced out of the industry spotlight. Wendy also connected this to her own fall from grace. She said that the moment she started talking about these things publicly, mentioning Jay-Z by name, her career nosedived. According to her, it was no coincidence. You speak on certain names, and the machine starts moving. They make you disappear. The Hollywood Wall of Silence. Then Wendy dropped the names that made the courtroom freeze. Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey. She testified that these weren't just bystanders. They were part of the system that protected Diddy. She said there's a list in Hollywood, not one you can see, not on paper, but everyone knows it. A list of people you don't cross. And if you do, you vanish. She shared a personal story about confiding in Oprah, told her about her past trauma. Oprah promised not to exploit it. Then months later, her abuser was sitting on Oprah's show while Wendy was being locked out of the industry. That wasn't a coincidence. Wendy said, that was retaliation. She said after her falling out with the Precious team, which Perry and Oprah backed her invites, stopped coming. One exec told her, Oprah's people don't want you near her anymore. The emails, the hotel setup, and the NDAs. Then Wendy brought the heat. She pulled out a folder in court full of emails and NDAs that she said were handed to her by ex-industry insiders who were done staying silent. One NDA from 2007 read, "Subject agrees not to disclose any private gatherings, recordings, or interactions with Sean Combs, his guests, or associates. Violation may result in financial penalties and public retaliation." Wendy slammed the page down. Public retaliation. That's how deep it went. She read an internal email from a luxury hotel chain dated 2015. "We have prepared the presidential suite with all requested amenities, including extra linens, candlelight lighting, and discretion measures. Mr. Combs' assistant will arrive for setup." Cassie was still with Diddy at that time. Wendy also testified that she had proof of payments sent to publicists, bloggers, and managers, all to bury stories and boost fake ones. One email instructed a writer to push a fluff piece on Diddy's philanthropy instead of addressing ongoing rumors. Then she showed a photo. Diddy, Tyler Perry, and a crisis PR consultant posing at a gala in 2019, smiling, while others were being silenced. The syndication deal and the cost of saying no. Wendy ended her testimony looking straight at the jury. "You see Diddy on trial, but I see something bigger. This isn't just about what he did, it's about who let him do it." She reminded them that behind Diddy was a tower built on silence, money, NDAs, and billion-dollar handshakes. A tower that crushed anyone who tried to speak. She turned to the gallery and said what she's been saying for 20 years. The truth is out now, and it's not just one man. It's a machine, one that's finally breaking down. Then she walked out, head high. If you're into the truth, if you're tired of silence being bought and paid for, then hit like, drop a comment, and make sure you subscribe. Because we're not done yet, and this story is far from over.